Alright YouTubers, welcome back to the Anonymous Miner channel, and in today's video we will be doing a first video of a series about batteries. So in this video I will take apart a recycled lithium ion battery from an oxygen pump device. So I actually purchased this battery from powertospare.net. I will leave links below. But this battery here is actually from, like I said, an oxygen pump. And it actually would run this little electric pump, and it would separate the oxygen from the regular atmosphere, or regular air in the atmosphere. And it would provide that usually to people that are having issues with their blood oxygen level. So because this is a medical device and because it's a life or death situation, these batteries are cycled out by time, and it's usually about 6 months to a year. And they don't get used that much. A lot of these devices are even used in some type of backup device. It has a backup battery on it. If you look at the left and right sides of this battery, there's those two little black tabs. It has two batteries on it for a backup on the oxygen pump. So it's possible that this battery wasn't even used at all. So we're going to get into this. This is a voiceover, by the way. I recorded this video, I had a lot of voice on it, but I lost it when I rendered it, and I'm not really sure what I did there, and I didn't feel like re-recording it. So here we are, I'm voicing over this. And so first of all, I just wanted to go over why I am doing this. Why am I taking apart this battery? And why some of you may want to consider this as well, or maybe you don't want to do this, and that's totally up to you. But that's something you need to decide for yourself, and if it's worth it for you. I am trying first and foremost to get my appliances, like my refrigerator, my internet router, my security system, my garage freezer, maybe a TV and or a computer, and some lights that can be used in the event of a power outage. So you can actually use the batteries inside of this thing and create your own battery backup. And so I also intend to eventually build some batteries to run my mining rig, 1 or 2 mining rigs as well, just as a proof of concept. So that is something that I'm going to do as well. And this would work in the form of using the solar power from the panels when the sun is up, and any excess power. So that's the caveat right there. I need to install not only enough solar to power the mining rig, but enough solar to power the mining rig for 24 hours. So to make this really simple, let's say my mining rig pulls 250 watts. And I get sun for 6 hours a day, which is actually true, about 6 hours a day of sun. I would then need at least 1,000 watts of solar panels to run that 250 watt rig. The math there, you don't understand, because there's 24 hours in a day, 6 hours of sunlight, so I need to multiply it by 4. So whatever my rig pulls times 4 is actually what I'm going to need to do. And then I need to also account for conversion losses. So I'm going to need to go above that just a little bit. So it would actually be, to be in the safe zone, I would like to do like 1,250, so 5 times it. So by doing that, the extra power that I would be producing, because in this scenario that I'm laying out for you, my rig's only pulling 250 watts, and my solar for 6 hours a day would be producing about 1,250 watts. So that extra 1,000 watts would be going to the batteries. It will actually be going to an inverter, and the inverter will charge the batteries. And so that's what I'm going to do with this. That's my plan, is eventually make a series about that as well. So I just want to be very clear though, to run any sort of large farm, you're going to need some serious batteries. I mean, this is no joke. The rig thing is just a proof of concept at this point, especially because I live in a small townhome. I really don't have the space to get too crazy about this. But if you lived out in the middle of nowhere, like Wyoming or Texas, somewhere where you have a lot of land, that is something you could do with a large investment. You could get totally off the grid. Now, moving right along now, another thing you may want to do with this is build a portable battery. For example, if you want to go camping or charge your phone, or you want to run some lights somewhere where you can't get a traditional cord out there, or maybe you're just too lazy to put a cord, or even jump starting your car. It can be done using these batteries if you configure them properly after taking them apart. So another YouTuber I saw built a battery pack, and he used this battery pack Like, I mean a battery pack as in a battery backpack. Like, he built a backpack with a battery inside of it. And you could just unzip the top of it, and there was a regular wall outlet, like an American wall outlet, 120 volt. And he could plug his leaf blower into that and wear the backpack, and now he had technically a portable leaf blower. So before that, it would plug into the wall, right, and have to drag around the cord. Now he's wearing a backpack, and he plugs his leaf blower into his backpack and walks around and blows his property off. That's pretty cool. So, however, I also want to get into a little bit of safety. These batteries are they can be very, very dangerous in two ways. First of all, they can produce a lot of amperage. There are videos on YouTube where people short circuit these batteries, and they are capable of producing well over 1,000 amps. I mean, it is crazy how much power these batteries can deliver in a short period of time, which amperage is what creates heat. Voltage does not create heat in a circuit. It's amperage that creates heat in a circuit. So you can imagine with that high of amperage, the heat is created very rapidly. So these batteries can be very, very dangerous. They can also have issues with voltage. So in this video, I carefully remove the nickel strip as well because I don't want to short circuit the batteries. In addition to that, I also check the voltage of the batteries a couple of times, because going above 4.2 volts on this specific battery chemistry, this lithium ion battery, can cause thermal runaway. And so what is thermal runaway? Well, thermal runaway is a chemical reaction in this battery that can happen when you go above voltage or if you create too much heat. So creating heat on this battery actually increases the voltage on it, and it can increase its output. And so when you start charging it too much, it can start getting really, really hot, and it just has this what's a runaway effect, and it eventually will catch fire if you overcharge these batteries. So that is obviously bad. Nobody wants a fire. Another way to do that is to puncture these batteries. They will catch on fire. The last thing that I do is I also am checking to see if the voltage has dropped below 2 volts. Because the opposite of the 4.2 volt cap on this specific chemistry of battery, if they drop below 2 volts or so, they can also form what's called a dendrite. A dendrite is essentially a tiny metal spike that can form inside the battery between the layers of the battery. So this battery is a circular battery. It's called an 18650 battery, and that's because it's 18 millimeters in diameter. It's a circle on one end, right? And it's 650 millimeters in length. So 18 millimeters in diameter, 650 millimeters in length. And inside of that 18 millimeter diameter is a coil of copper with lithium between the layers. So that is where these metal spikes form, is between these layers. And when those spikes form, they can short circuit the layers out, and they can cause issues. So when that dendrite, that metal spike forms, it can cause the battery to discharge on its own. So it can just have a slow discharge. It can have a pretty fast discharge. Or if you charge and discharge it with that dendrite formed, it can cause extreme heat, and then we're back into that runaway, and they will catch fire again. So that is another reason that these can be extremely dangerous, and you want to be careful. Puncturing or heating these batteries in any way can cause a fire as well, as I mentioned. So this specific battery chemistry may not be for everyone. However, this specific battery chemistry is also one of the most energy dense chemistries, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But there is another chemistry for lithium batteries, and it's called LiFePO4. So this is a lithium iron phosphate based battery, and it can literally be punctured with a pickaxe. I will post a video below where they puncture it. These firemen puncture a battery with a pickaxe, and it does not catch fire. It boils up, it swells up, it does not explode, however. And there's people standing within, I'd say, 5 to 10 feet of this battery as they're doing this. So that chemistry is a lot more safe. They even in that same video take a torch to it. And so I'll post that video down below. It is another YouTube video, and it is amazing to see what they do to this battery. And it's very safe, actually. Aside from the smoke, obviously, and the toxic fumes and all that other stuff. But I'm not talking like Some of these batteries can explode. They can catch fire. You have to be very careful with these batteries. So, unfortunately, the LiFePo 4 variant, this lithium iron phosphate variant of the battery, is a little bit more expensive, but they offer greater safety and a large charge and discharge life expectancy as well. So if you were to Google the lithium ion battery, the regular lithium ion batteries like I'm taking apart in this video, it says that the life cycle is around 3 to 500. Now, a lot of people that use these batteries report that it's more like a 2000 range, but and that's 2000 cycles, so that's charge and discharge. So if you were to charge it and discharge it once a day, that would be about 2000 days that this battery would be to be expected to live. So this is heavily dependent on your battery or your power wall setup. So like whatever battery you build, it really depends on that. And by this I mean that, like all electronics, if you use a battery at 100% of its potential, it will not last very long. However, if you use an electronic component or device at say 50% of its potential, in my experience, and a lot of people I talk to about this will say that 100% usage device will die very quickly, and the 50% device will likely have a long life as long as it's kept up otherwise, such as not exposed to water or something like that. I mean, so as long as the device is maintained properly, and kept in a good environment and everything else, that device that you don't use at its full capacity is likely to live much, 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 much longer. And so that's the idea with these batteries too, is you want to overbuild your battery if you can. You want to make it way bigger than you need it to be so that you only have to use it a little bit and they last a lot longer, and then it's always there if you need it. So the LiFePo 4, the lithium iron phosphate, this is another example of where that chemistry really shines. It has an estimated life cycle of 5,000. So 5,000 life cycles, and it's supposed to still be at about 80% of its battery life at that point. That's pretty intense. On the top of the fact that it's almost impossible to explode or catch fire, that sounds great to me. Now the downside to that is they are more expensive, and you also they take up a little bit more space, but I'll get into that in a little bit. So it's really all going to come down to cost for you, and like for all of this stuff is going to come down to cost for you, and whether or not you are going to be able to do this stuff or not. So if you don't want to do any of this stuff but you want batteries, you could go to somewhere like bigbattery.com. I'll leave a link below, and they sell these pre-built batteries. You can choose whatever size battery you want, and they are actually recycled as well, or recycled or new. Now they sell new batteries too. So I'll leave a link for that below. You can just buy a battery and plug it into an inverter and call it good, or you can recycle batteries. So you could also buy new batteries and build them if you want. You don't even have to buy a pre-built battery. It's all up to you. It's how much money you want to save, and I have fun with this stuff, and I get exactly what I want when I build my own stuff. So you can even buy used Tesla batteries and make your own Tesla power wall if you wanted to. Up until the Tesla Model 3 and the newest generation of batteries, Tesla actually used the same design of cell as in this battery I'm taking apart today. They used an 18650 cell, and again that's the 18 millimeter diameter and 650 millimeter in length. Their chemistry being mostly lithium and copper with a steel casing, and that's the difference. So this is a very energy dense battery. It does look like all 16 of these batteries are good today, and I will need to capacity test all these batteries still. But the difference between the lithium ion battery I'm holding today, I know I talked about fire and all that other stuff, but one of the major things is space. And I live in a pretty small space, and these are not going to be where I actually sleep or live or anything like that. They're going to be in my garage. So I'm not too worried about if there is an issue. And that's where we're at with that. I need to also test these batteries. That's what's going to happen next. That'll be the next episode. I'm going to capacity test all of these batteries in a special charger I'll talk about. And basically the charger will charge it up to 4.2 volts, that maximum voltage I talked about, and then it'll discharge the battery to 2.5 volts, and it'll check how much energy each of these batteries can actually store, so how much can it hold. And this will give me a milliamp hour, an MAH milliamp hour rating. And it basically means that one of these batteries is rated, let's say, at 3000 milliamp hours, MAH. I should be able to use 0.2 amps for 15 hours. So I should be able to pull 200 milliamps, or 1/15 of that, right? So 2.2 into 3000, 15 hours, so, or 200, sorry. So 3000 divided by 200 milliamps is 15, which makes 15 hours that this battery could put out 0.2 amps. So it could be like a string of LEDs, for example, would probably pull about 0.2 amps. So it could light a string of LEDs for about 15 hours, one of these batteries. That's kind of crazy. Now, one thing to mention, I was kind of touting the LifePo 4 variant earlier for its safety. But again, it is the less dense one, so it takes up a lot more space. And that's the difference, is the battery that can power that light bulb for 15 hours in LifePo 4 form is going to be much bigger. It would be, I'm not going to give you exact numbers because I don't know them, but it would be much larger battery to power that same LED string for 15 hours. So I'll leave the rest of this off to the next episode, and I hope you all liked this intro to batteries on the Anonymous Miner channel. If you found that I may be incorrect or misinformed about anything, please let me know in the comments below. If you have any suggestions for other videos, I would also like to see your comments below. And please thumbs up or thumbs down, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you all know when my next battery episode comes out. We still have a long way to go with this, and I really appreciate you all. So thanks again, everyone, and you have a great day.